All right, continuing. So we left off with the interviewer asking about the dimensions. Dimensions 1 to 4, and dimension level 4 to 6, and the highest ruling one is dimension 7, which is also an independent dimension level. Alexander Laurent answers correct. Dimension 7 is so dominant and all dominant because the geometry of our 7-dimensional existence, from its mechanics and from its geometrically functioning mode of action, geometrically functioning mode of action, possesses the properties of the highest impenetrable prime number in this construct, 7, only divisible by itself, and 1, thus only limitedly accessible and therefore protected from other influences. This means that the structure of our 7-dimensional existence makes dimension 7 the highest level with prime number mechanics, and thus dominant in its modes of action to all lower levels of this 7-dimensional existence. Fortunately, due to its prime number mechanics, dimension 7 is in many respects isolated from the lower dimensions and dimensional levels, i.e. has a limited capacity to act even without direct access to our dimension level 1 to 4. For dimension level 4 to 6, however, dimension level 7 has indirectly controllable access to information. Interviewer asks, okay, so dimension level 7 has a rather difficult influence. Nevertheless, 2-dimensional levels share one dimension, namely the 4th. Is our dimension level then controlled indirectly via this 4th dimension from dimension 7? Alexander Laurent replies, this is correct, yes. Dimension level 7 exploits its interactive conditionality on dimension level 4 to 6 so that it can then exert a structural influence on our dimension level 1 to 4 via the connecting dimension 4. Dimension 4 is an overlapping dimension, a natural connection that is used for interactions and influences in a temporal and material context. Interviewer asks, for many viewers, this alone is already too much. How exactly is this to be understood? That is, that our 4 dimensions are not the only ones present, that there are other dimensions above us, and that our 4 dimensions can be overlooked, so to speak, by others, probably depend on them or are fed by them, that everything does not exist as we have imagined it so far. What are our dimensions then? Or our dimension level 1 to 4? How does all this work, and what do these relationships mean to people? Alexander Laurent replies, the 7 dimensions are all next to each other. They are actually plugs into each other. Everything in our perceived reality is, strictly speaking, located in a single manageable place. It is not really matter, not really space, not really time, and not really information, but above all, it is always only separate consciousnesses put into a 7-dimensional prison of mutually controlling and blocking information sections. One could also simply speak of data and the processing of this data taking place by each individual consciousness. The entire 7-dimensional existence in which our universe is located is similar to a computer simulation of a single computer, a computer that is only in one place. It could or even has to be said that in this state, it is like a local computer that controls everything, simulates everything, in which everything in the 7-dimensional world is also located, and everything outside the computer is the real world. There is our true origin, our true self, the hyperdimensional quantum consciousness, a consciousness from which every existing consciousness of our seven-dimensional universe originates, and from which all our consciousnesses in the seven-dimensional existence now only exist as a split off parts of this hyperdimensional quantum consciousness. So I've learned from other videos like near-death experiencers, and from Journey to Truth podcast Super Soldier videos, that we are like the star, like one star is like, I am made up of a star, like in the universe. We could very well be those stars. Our soul is like this ball of light. One of these near-death experiencers, when she died, she went out of her body and she was brought out into what she thought was space, and she was shown that we were the stars. But I'm not saying that me that I know is that one big star. Like, we have this whole soul that's been split into many, and artificially split in one level of existence, forced to split from controllers of this place who run the background. But on a higher level, on the whole, holistically speaking, we are all one, so we voluntarily split ourselves. Does that make sense? So it's like on one consciousness level, I could play like I had no choice, is the victim. But on a bigger, holistic, conscious level, it's like saying, like, the higher me chose for this to happen, to experience it to happen, because we all are playing a part in a movie or in a simulation, like Alexander Laurent said. It could just be like a computer simulation. So if it was just a game or a simulation and we joined the game, then I joined willingly, and I agreed upon controllers splitting my soul off. You know, it's like it's like a wild ride, right? So there is an oversoul split into different little consciousnesses that are all split up, which come back and make a whole. Okay, so the ones that are split up and enter into this Earth game or whatever of the planets are having these games, or little pieces of the whole. And there's the main one, I guess the real one, when we all finally meet up back together, perhaps. Maybe the whole one is still there and still getting splits from. And that's the real us. I mean, it's all the real us, but, you know, we're in a synthesized reality, is what he's saying. That's my take on it. Anyways, where did I leave off? The interviewer asks, from there, From this hyperdimensional world, all our consciousness derives. Yeah, from there, all our consciousness derives from that whole unsplit us, or the one that they split from, the basis of us. The individual consciousness of every being in the universe, of the seven-dimensional universe. Alexander Laurent replies, yes. One might think now that this hyperdimensional quantum consciousness is only an accumulation of quanta, but that would be wrong. The consciousness is not just any consciousness, but it is the actual consciousness of existence, not spirit alone, but the absolute being, the absolute soul, a state that cannot be described with terms of our world, nor can it be understood or confused with terms like quantum accumulation or quantum origin. So I'm thinking, like, source is the top ball of energy, and then within source we split off into other smaller consciousnesses, which then get split off and then split off and split off, tinier and tinier and tinier, or more of. Anyways, Alexander Laurent continues, well, this hyperdimensional quantum consciousness are penetrated with a part of itself into a lower and empty substance, a substance that had nothing yet, was nothing yet. It was completely without laws of nature, just raw, heavy, tough, and without dimension. When the hyperdimensional quantum consciousness penetrated this substance, it placed a part of its quantum into this mass, in order to experience itself in it. So it divided itself, right? In order to be able to explore its own self in it from now on. However, the condition for this self-experience in that lower substance was establishment of a set of rules, a geometry, an operating system, so to speak. The intrusion thus forced the establishment of a world governed by natural laws, in which the consciousness of these intruding quanta could or had to be split and reconstructed from then on, could be caught in a geometric biological regulation, so to speak. Within this construct, the quanta of the penetrated hyperdimensional consciousness were thus separated into many individual states of consciousness, completely redefined in its experiencing, inserted into a new form of existence and consciousness, consisted of limited dimensions of matter, time, space, and information, squeezed into a fanned out network of independently functioning dimension levels, which in turn are in mutual dependent relationship. Around this describes seven-dimensional world, this seven-dimensional prison, there still exists that all-embracing quantum consciousness, the hyperdimensional quantum consciousness. And although a part of this hyperdimensional quantum consciousness is trapped here as split consciousness, i.e., as conscious beings of the seven-dimensional existence, these beings remain and are at the same time always part of the hyperdimensional quantum consciousness. We are all the consciousness. This is our true self. Every existence and every consciousness in the seven-dimensional world is part of the original quantum consciousness, the father of all soul and consciousness, you could say. So because we split off from source, we are all source. We have parts of source in us because we are split off from source, and we enter this dimension with a set of rules, that we all follow. Maybe it's the law of physics, that we all agree upon, that we all contract into, that we all play here on Earth, such as gravity, We all agree that there'd be gravity, so we're not just floating off in space. So because we all agree upon it, we are manifestation beings. So whatever we think manifests and creates. So with all our agreed upon agreements, we created this world with its bound set of rules and laws and order. Okay? Interviewer asks, how could this existence actually come into being, that is, our existence? What conditions and causes led to the fact that this world could be formed and come into being? Did it need special conditions for this? Alexander Laurent replies, yes, essential and drastic processes were necessary for the substance of this lower existence to be able to be formed into a regulated world governed by natural law. The creation and emergence of our seven-dimensional prison could only come about through, and this is particularly important to understand, a mutually dependent dimensional construct, an artificial intelligence potentially created in this construct created the accesses and the geometrical relations and conditions of this seven-dimensional universe, thus generated it. An artificial... Did he say an artificial intelligence? Yes, he did. Invented this. Okay, I'm curious to learn more. I'm going to stop it. It's at 16 minutes. It's a shorter video today. I'm gonna resume in the next video.